Nearly every day, Russian media, bloggers, politicians, diplomats, and Putin himself issue threats of nuclear escalation against Ukraine and the wider world. This constant saber-rattling has become more than just a tactic, it's a way of life, the art of Russian bluffing. But the courageous people of Ukraine remain unshaken. They never feared, and they still do not. Today, more than ever, the world, especially the European Union, stands firmly committed to ending Russia's imperial ambitions and its unlawful hold on Ukrainian territory. The latest Ukrainian strikes on air bases deep inside Russia are not just military operations. They are bold statements of capability, resolve, and fearlessness. While the Kremlin hides behind threats and propaganda, Ukraine answers with action. Words mean nothing unless backed by conviction, and President Zelensky has proven that. In the face of overwhelming odds, he has become not just a leader but a living symbol of resistance and heroism. Just a few days ago, Ukraine carried out a highly strategic drone strike on several air bases deep within Russian territory, reportedly destroying an estimated $7 billion worth of military aircraft. This bold operation has sparked a wave of reactions both inside and outside Russia, including renewed fears about the potential for a nuclear escalation against Ukraine. The Kremlin has condemned the strike as a terrorist act, a claim that seems difficult to justify given the context. After all, it's been over 3 years since Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, an unprovoked war that has led to the destruction of numerous cities and the deaths of thousands of innocent civilians, arguably one of the most blatant acts of aggression in Europe since World War II. The aim of this video is to present the facts, explore the broader consequences of this latest development, and examine the responses from the United States, the European Union, and other key international actors. Here's a breakdown of the factors at play. Russia's nuclear doctrine allows for the use of nuclear weapons in response to the use of nuclear or other weapons of mass destruction against it or its allies, or in the event of aggression with conventional weapons that creates a critical threat to its sovereignty and territorial integrity. While recent updates in November 2024 further clarified and potentially broadened these conditions, they still generally refer to existential threats to the Russian state or its allies. Attacks on military bases, while significant, are generally not considered to meet this threshold. Many analysts argue that there are no attractive military targets in Ukraine that would justify the use of a tactical nuclear weapon. Ukrainian forces do not operate in large enough concentrations to make a nuclear strike militarily effective. Moreover, the use of such a weapon could have significant unintended consequences, including radioactive fallout affecting Russian troops or territory. The use of a nuclear weapon by Russia would trigger massive global political opprobrium and likely lead to severe consequences. China and India, key partners for Russia, have explicitly stated their opposition to the use of nuclear weapons in Ukraine. The international response would almost certainly involve further isolation, potentially harsher sanctions, and a significant increase in military aid to Ukraine. While the West might not respond with direct military intervention or a nuclear counterstrike, the repercussions would be devastating for Russia on the world stage. Russia's nuclear threats are widely seen as an attempt to deter Western intervention and support for Ukraine, rather than a genuine intent to use them on the battlefield. Putin has used nuclear saber-rattling to pressure the West, but has not yet escalated to actual use despite numerous red lines being crossed. The use of a tactical nuclear weapon could backfire, stiffening Ukrainian resolve and leading to increased support from the West, rather than demoralizing Ukraine or leading to capitulation.
While the risk cannot be entirely dismissed, especially given the unpredictable nature of the conflict and the high stakes for Russia, the prevailing view among experts is that the strategic and political costs of using a tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine would far outweigh any potential military gains for Russia. The recent attacks on Russian military bases, while a humiliation for Moscow, are unlikely to be the trigger for such an extreme escalation. In May, the Trump administration approved a $310 million sale of F-16 parts and support to Ukraine, signaling a shift in U.S.-Ukraine relations and potentially renewing weapons shipments paused since Trump's inauguration. As of June 2025, the European Union continues to provide substantial support to Ukraine through a combination of financial aid, military assistance, and strategic initiatives. The latest news is that a gigantic ally has decided to participate forcefully once and for all. We are referring to Germany, the most relevant power in Europe, which has given the green light to Ukraine to use its long-range Taurus missiles. This is not a minor thing because these weapons are very powerful and generate a great advantage for Ukraine on the battlefield, and Russia knows it. Of course, there was no shortage of the typical bragging of the Russian media, but Europe is not intimidated. It knows very well that Russia must be stopped at all costs. Here's an overview of the EU's efforts. Financial assistance. Total aid. Since the onset of the conflict, the EU has allocated approximately 138 billion euros in aid to Ukraine, surpassing contributions from other global partners. 2025 commitments. In 2025 alone, the EU has pledged 4.2 billion euros in financial assistance, encompassing grants, loans, and humanitarian aid. Macro financial assistance. The EU has disbursed 5 billion euros under the G7-led Extraordinary Revenue Acceleration (ERA) loans initiative, contributing to an overall 18.1 billion euro commitment. It's vital to recognize that supporting Ukraine is essential for the security of all nations. Allowing powerful countries to invade and subjugate their smaller neighbors sets a dangerous precedent, potentially leading to unchecked aggression and the misuse of nuclear threats. Ukraine's fight is not just for its own survival, it's for the principles of freedom, sovereignty, and truth in a world that desperately needs them. The message is clear: the age of fear and silence is over. This war will be won not by bullies with missiles, but by people with courage, unity, and the will to resist. If you believe in the power of truth, in standing up against tyranny, and in supporting those who fight for their homeland, then help us spread the message. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others. Your voice matters. Together, we keep the world informed, and we keep the light on Ukraine.